Congrats, welcome back. Welcome back today with the Counselor, Domestic Violence with the Counselor Mr James Horton. Hello everybody, welcome back to my class. Today I'm going to tell a little about myself and some of the reasons I believe that God has me doing what I'm doing. And I didn't even figure it out until sometime, let's say maybe 2 or 3 years into the work that I've been doing in the area of domestic violence, helping men and addressing issues. And why I address these issues, I find that I'm also addressing issues within myself. Like I tell my clients, my men, I tell them, I said, you guys help me just as well as I help you. You know, believe it or not, I always go home feeling a lot better. I'm going to talk about today something I had written up. It actually written up in college, and it's called The Biography of Mr. James Horton, the Counselor. The Biography of Mr. James Horton. Bear with me. So, here we go. My name is James Horton, and I was born October 21st, 1967 at Mount Zion Hospital in San Francisco, California. My mother is Alma Horton, and my father is James Arthur Horton. I have an older brother and a younger sister. My brother's name is Joseph Lafayette Horton. My sister's name is Frederica Monique Horton. My infant years were very hard years for my family and I because they were filled with different forms of abuse, mental as well as physical. Our family home, unlike most family homes, very much a dysfunctional place that I've grown up in. Alright? At a very young age, I had problems learning how to do things like being able to recite the alphabet, or even being able to sing the alphabet in a song to people like my mother, my teacher, mother, anyone else for that matter, especially one person whom I feared the most, my father. Now that I've grown, I now understand the fear of being beaten by my father for not knowing these things contributed greatly to my inability to learn. My father had problems with his own self-being, and he projected in an aggressive manner daily. My sister did not go through the physical abuse like my brother and I, but she did receive the mental abuse to have to watch and listen. This was a time when my sister was very young and she was like a sponge soaking up everything around her. She constantly took notice of everything that was going on. My mother's share of the abuse was the hardest to endure. Physical and mental abuse that went on night and day. My mother to this day has proven to me how much of a woman she is because when the time came, she made a conscious decision to leave my father and get herself and her 3 children out of the situation. My father was not only an abuser to his family, he was an abuser to himself. He was a heroin addict. At around the age of 7 years old, I can recall walking to the bathroom seeing my father lying unconscious with a syringe in his arm. Wow, it was devastating. As time went on, I used to hear rumors in the neighborhood that my father had a drug problem, but at that time I didn't care what kind of a problem he may have had. I only wanted the rest of my family to be safe and have a life, any kind of life away from this one. In the year of 1979, my mother met a man by the name of Marvin who ran his own roofing company, was ready to help us in any way he could. During that same year, he moved us to Oakland. I must say it felt good to finally feel free. Marvin was truly a helper that my family and I would never forget. He was a true man, one of the few that I've encountered. But before I continue my story, I would like to say that I'm very grateful for the #1 helper and protector who has always loved me, my God. At the age of 15, I began to let my guard down and allow myself to be influenced by my peers. I believe I was looking for acceptance from the people in my surrounding area. I remember the first time a friend in the group I was hanging out with asked me to smoke some weed with him, and I did, just for the sake of fitting in. I could not, at that time, let anything interfere with the stature that I had now built myself up to be. Joining the gang, going to other neighborhoods to fight other youth was another pastime that I also regret. The majority of the time we joined in these types of behavior for no reason at all, except to be one of the guys. We felt we had to prove our strength by fighting in numbers. At the age of 16, I sold drugs. I knew my mother would be very upset with me, so I hid this part of my life from her and the rest of my family. I remember when I bought my first car, and I would hide the car around the corner so my family wouldn't see it. I would also hide clothes that I bought. And before going to school, I would change clothes in the car. The influence I allowed the group to have on me began to escalate. It escalated to my first use of the drug called cocaine. The same drug I had been selling. Cocaine gave me a much more intense high than the weed I had been smoking. it had a different effect on my behavior. I could feel myself changing. I began to feel that my life was in danger and that I needed to change, not just from using and selling drugs, but also from those influences who I called my friends. I remember telling my mother that I was messing up and having problems needing to get out of Oakland. She never asked me to tell her what was going on. She was just ready to help me in whatever way she could. So she called her father, my maternal grandfather, and arranged for me to move to Henderson, Texas. The trip to Texas was truly an ultimate experience for me. The dynamics that were going on in the city of Oakland were totally different to the life I would now live in Texas. My grandfather lived on a farm which was located in a wooded area. Instead of bathrooms, there was an outhouse. There were also hogs, chickens, and possums, which were our daily meals. I can recall going into the kitchen, making myself something to eat, and I thought I was eating a piece of chicken, and later became physically ill when I found out I was eating squirrel meat. But aside from the few things that I viewed as abnormal, the experience that I shared with my grandfather are forever embedded within my memory and are irreplaceable. I learned a lot from my grandfather, and for that I am truly grateful. After 6 months in Texas with my grandfather and the chickens and the hogs, I was ready to go home to Oakland, California to my loving family. When I returned home, things were not going well for my family. They were having a lot of financial problems. These problems caused my mother to be forced to file for bankruptcy and barely have any money to buy food. I remember talking to my mother and telling her that I was not to worry, and that I was going to get us out of this problem that we were in, but that I'm going to have to earn some money in a legal way. I returned to the fastest way I knew how to make money. Selling drugs. So I was able to get us back on track and even able to become pretty tactful at selling drugs. I'm referring to it as tactful because success would be an insult to the word. Success has nothing to do with selling drugs, my young brothers. Being tactful comes into play when you do not get caught. At the age of 24, I made a decision to try a new drug. Heroin would now become my drug of choice. Upon my introduction to this drug, it was a fad to snort it through the nose. Just like drinking that syrup. It's a fad. It's a fancy thing to do. It makes you get busy with the ladies, so we say. You know, be careful. Be careful. Keep listening. Well, keep listening, man. I can help you with something. I was told that the drug was an aphrodisiac that would make me more of a man and that I would gain high points with the ladies. I soon became addicted to this drug, and I began to use it as I woke up and before I would go to sleep at night. I could not get through a single day without it. It was just that powerful. I would also sometimes snort cocaine with the heroin. This was called speedballing. I forgot to mention that I was diagnosed with being an insulin-dependent diabetic in the year of 1985 when I was 17 years old. I started to get very sick as I continued to use the drug. Use of the drug became more important than taking care of my diabetes. I would go days without taking my medicine due to the fact that I was only concerned with getting high. At this time in my life, I began to change, mentally as well as physically. I did not see it, but everyone around me did. My mood would change. I became prone to going in and out of jail. Violations of probation and possessions of drugs were my causes of incarceration. I was in and out of courtrooms on several occasions. I related became a known visitor. In the year of 1999, I was arrested for possessing a $10 bag of heroin. This arrest ultimately changed the course of my life. I was brought to court to be sentenced by a judge by the name of Jenkins, a man who I didn't know at the time would leave his imprint on my life. He was like no other judge that I have ever encountered. He had compassion and was there to do more than just a job. He eventually introduced me to a program within the walls of Santa Rita Jail, the Deuce program. This was my first grasp at recovery. I completed the program, was released from jail, and continued my recovery. As a condition of my probation, I was ordered to show up in court every 60 days for a progress report. Judge Jenkins expressed publicly to the entire courtroom his satisfaction with my progress. Eventually, my good standing would come to an end. I began to slip and use drugs again. Earlier in my story, I expressed that I was a diabetic and how it affected my health when I used drugs. During my addiction, I became a patient of Howden Hospital of Oakland on several occasions. In fact, several does not compare. Tried numerous occasions. On one of these occasions, I saw a black man of medium height walking down the hall towards my room. Check this out, y'all. It was the Honorable Judge Jenkins coming to the hospital to see me. I must say, he was someone who cared enough and believed in me. In the year of 1999, I was arrested for a first-degree burglary and was facing 4 to 6 years in prison. I was incarcerated for 11 months. I can recall writing to my mother and apologizing for all the hurt I had brought upon her, my family, and myself. At this time, I was ready to get my life back. Tired, man. I was tired. I eventually got into a program. I wrote this in 2000, so you do the math. And laid the path at that time to accomplish 2 years and 9 months of cleanliness and recovery. I'm now attending Merritt College. I was now attending Merritt College. I'm not anymore. That was in 2000. Merritt College, earning my associate's degree in substance abuse counseling and looking forward to pursuing a bachelor's degree and eventually a master's degree in psychology. I'm now enjoying my life with new earnings and looking forward to getting my education and dealing with my clients that I serve at the facility where I work. Thank you. Thank you. I've been here now going on 16 years. 16 years I've been helping. 3 years ago, I got my calculator off my phone, and I added up how many people I had worked with at that time. You know, and it was very close to, well, it was about 8,000 people that I had worked with in the years that I added up at that very time. So I had to get back to the calculator, add up the number of people that come each time every 8 weeks, and within a year, how much did that add up to, and I have a new number for you. But I enjoy what I do, and I enjoy helping. And I've gotten many rewards, not just helping myself, but helping others. A God kind of thing. Thank you all for coming to my class one more time. Mr. Horton.